In chapter 18 of the story, we see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're part of this first wave of exiles that's brought over from Judah to Babylon. And they're commanded by the king, King Nebuchadnezzar, to bow down to this huge idol. It was over 90 feet tall. And when the music played, everyone was supposed to bow down to it. Well, everyone did except for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They worshiped Yahweh. And as you can imagine, King Nebuchadnezzar was furious. And as punishment, he sent them into this fiery furnace to be burnt up. And yet, miraculously, they were unharmed. Not a single hair on their head was singed. God protected and preserved them, even though the fire was hot enough that the guards that threw them in there were burnt to a crisp. Now, a lot of us know this story, right? Of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We know how they were saved, but then we have the question, well, what about me? Where was God when I was walking through the flames? Where was he when my relationship with my daughter was burnt to a crisp? Where was he when my relationship with my wife or husband imploded? Where was he when my friend struggling with cancer didn't pull through? Why didn't he spare me the pain of the fire like he spared Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Where's my rescue? Before these three friends were thrown into the furnace, they gave this reply to the king, and their words are telling. They said, "If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not see your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up, even if he does not." Even if God does not rescue us bodily, that's not going to affect our faith one way or the other. Even if he doesn't spare us from the flames, that doesn't mean he has abandoned us. That little even if, that's the hardest part to pray in our prayers, right? The way that Jesus prays, not what I will, but what you will be done. King Nebuchadnezzar was amazed because when he looked into the fire, he didn't just see 3, but 4 men walking around in that furnace. And he said the fourth one looks like a son of the gods. You see, Jesus was there with them in the midst of the flames. Isaiah 43:2 says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you." You see, at the cross, Jesus absorbed God's wrath in full. The fiery flames intended for us, well, Jesus absorbed those. He took the consequences of our own sin and died in our place. For Christians, then, we rest in God's promise. Not that we won't have to face the flames, but that in the midst of the fiery furnace, Jesus is there with us, holding our hand and actively working toward our salvation. So my encouragement for you, brother and sister in Christ, is this. Whatever flames you may face today, God's promise remains. You will not be overwhelmed.